to 2023, the year to stand in your power in relation to money. The first and January event of Female Wave of Change Canada for 2023. I don't know about you, but I can feel it in my bones that 2023 is going to be an awesome year for us all. We've been through a lot the last couple forward, so we're due for a good one this year. I'd like to acknowledge you all for taking time out of your busy lives to be here. This evening, through an interactive and engaging discussion, you will better understand the impact of money stress on your minds and bodies. You'll gain more insight into your relationship with money. You'll discover the 8 money types and which ones are most relevant for you. And you'll learn some tools to help you stand in your power related to money. As mentioned, this event is brought to you by Female Wave of Change Canada, and we are part of a global social movement that's now in about 40 countries around the world. And my role as ambassador for Canada is to grow that movement across Canada. And so I'm building this community, and I incorporated us as Female Wave of Change Canada as a national nonprofit in December of 2020. And we had our first monthly meeting on March 8th of 2021. So we are still quite a new organization for those of you who don't know much about us. We believe that authentic feminine leadership holds the key to creating a better world, a more conscious, equitable, just, sustainable, and peaceful one. And when we speak about feminine leadership, we mean qualities such as creativity, collaboration, inclusiveness, authenticity, emotional intelligence, qualities that we typically associate with the feminine. That said, men can have them and also can learn them. Likewise, women cannot have them and learn them. So we're really on a mission to increase people's awareness of the need and the value of these feminine leadership qualities. And we believe they need to be reintroduced and revalued in systems and organizations that are largely based on masculine models. And the masculine and feminine, we believe, need to balance out and learn to dance together. So it's not about getting rid of the masculine and having the feminine do it all. It's about having this balance between the masculine and feminine. So that's really part of what we're all about. And at the international level, we have 5 pillars: economy, environment, health, and humanity. And later on, you'll hear a little bit more about each of those. And we do initiatives and projects related to those particular pillars to make a positive difference in the world. What I'd like to do now, we've introduced this idea of a ripple report, and having several people, only have room for a couple of people, to share any activity or projects that they believe are or is creating a ripple effect and making a positive difference in the world. Does anybody have something to share? And if you do, it's better if you use the reaction button so I can see you there. Anybody?
Could you ask the question again?
Sure, Deborah. Anybody who's involved in a project or an initiative that they believe is causing a ripple effect and basically creating a wave of change.
Yvonne, go ahead.
Hi there. So I have a radio show called the Words, Women and Wisdom Radio Show, which has been, I've been hosting that for the last 4 years on BBS Radio, and interviewing women who've risen from tragedy to triumph and are now out doing amazing things. I love when social entrepreneurs come on the show. Sometimes they are my clients, sometimes they are women that I've connected with and heard their story and just have to share it. And it's definitely created a ton of ripples over the last 4 years, and it's going to continue probably in a different format this year, but it's on BBS Radio if you are intrigued. The Words, Women and Wisdom Radio Show.
Thanks very much, Yvonne. Great to hear more about that. Jan, do you want to share?
I'd love to. One of the projects that I've been excited about, Center for Spiritual Living Kelowna, we've now been able to foster and fund Center for Spiritual Living Kenya. And we've now graduated 12 ministers there and got books into their native language. And we've got a slum ministry that is funded and going. And I'm so stoked about what we're doing over there.
That's so exciting, Jan. And I know there's an amazing team behind that, you being one of them. So thanks so much for sharing that. That's great. I have something to share, and I believe she's going to help us call. Oh, Patrice, before I go there, Patrice, did you want to share?
Yeah, just something that I had become involved with. It's the Living Hope Institute, and it's for the troubled youth, but they've got a wonderful vision and visionary, but the way they're going about it too is that they're bringing like businesses. It's for the troubled youth to get them first past their troubles, give them a home, but get them so that they're in a place where they can become employed. They can they mentor with businesses. They've got businesses coming in and that will take these kids on as apprentices or teach them, the different skills and different things like that, so that they can go on to become whatever that entrepreneurial business is, or if they take the apprenticeship or start their own businesses. And there's a whole vision. It goes out with, creating the homes for the people, but actually expanding it into a village type setting and with the sustainable farming, so that the communities are growing their own food. And that's where they pulled me in for showing them how to.
I can see why. That's a strength that you have and a lot of wisdom in that area. So it's called Living Hope. Is that what you called the organization, Patrice?
Yeah, Living Hope Institute. It's a nonprofit. They're operating out. It's livinghopeinstitute.org, I believe, is the website. And they're operating more in the States. And it's just they've got some different businesses and working with some youth, but it's just the beginning stages of pulling in all the required people to make this happen.
So it sounds like they want to grow it in Canada, because you're in Saskatchewan, right? So
yeah. Oh, they'd like it to be worldwide. It's.
Yeah, I get it. That's what we are.
Yeah.
Great. Thanks, Patrice. Always interesting to hear what people are up to. Okay, I would just, in terms of the time, I just like to share something that I feel is going to support Female Wave of Change Canada to create more ripples and waves of change. And it is I'd like to announce the joining of our board of a new member, Rita. Well, she's been a member since the outset of Female Wave of Change Canada, and she's played a leading role in our Becoming a Mother Earth Ambassador project. And yesterday, she signed on to be our new Director of Communications and Marketing for the board. So I'd like to just give a shout out to Rita. Yeah, and we're really happy that she's joined us and filled a hole that we've had for a couple of months. So, and Rita, I won't spend too long, but Rita does have a diverse background in communications, marketing, outreach, program management, strat planning, across different sectors, including social enterprise, nonprofit, academic, and political. Do you have people in your background there, Rita?
I do. I'll turn it off if I'm not speaking. Sorry.
Maybe, yeah. Academic and political. She's played lead roles on a wide variety of programs, campaigns, and other initiatives focused primarily on promoting positive environmental and social change in communities. Rita's strengths focus on her ability to strategically transform visionary ideas into high impact results, through effective planning and communications. She was a founding employee of World Tree, an innovative social enterprise you may know that offers impact investors a unique opportunity to invest in fast-growing renewable timber. She's done things like being the campus sustainability coordinator for the University of Victoria, project manager for the campaign to protect the Great Bear Rainforest, and she's also held key positions on a number of high-profile political campaigns at various levels across Canada. She has an honors degree in communications from SFU, and also, among other things, a certificate in digital marketing and web design. So welcome, Rita. We're so excited to have you on board, and already Rita shared some ideas in terms of how to increase our membership and retain membership and do some other exciting things. So just wanted to say that.
Thanks, Pam. It's noisy here because I'm actually in the cafeteria at UVic. Back to my old stomping grounds right now. I was having another event this afternoon. So yeah, I'm really excited, everybody. Really looking forward to this opportunity and working with you all.
Thanks, Rita. Okay. So moving on to our featured guest this evening. It's my great pleasure to introduce our featured guest, Mariska Reinerink, excuse me. And Mariska is a money, wellness, and business coach, an international workshop facilitator and speaker. With her 20 years of experience as a holistic financial planner, Mariska understands how deeply our sense of well-being is connected to money. With her background in health and financial planning, she uses her unique methodology to help her clients create a stress-free relationship with money and to create the lives and businesses they deserve. Her philosophy is to create clarity and simplicity around money while looking inward to see what our money blueprint is and what messages we carry with us from our past. She offers this solution through one-on-one coaching, group coaching, live as well as online workshops and webinars. Born in the Netherlands and having lived in the UK, then in Vancouver for 20 plus years, she's now back in Europe and works with people all over the world. In fact, she's coming to us from Spain today, just close to Malaga. So welcome, Mariska.
Welcome, everybody, and thanks for having me.
And it's also the middle of the night for her, so she's doing very well to be with us.
It's 1:45 a.m., so if I do yawn, it's not because of you, it's just me trying to stay awake. But that should be easy because I love doing what I'm doing and talking about what I'm talking about. So yeah.
Well, we're excited to learn from you tonight and get some tools as well, Mariska. So what is a holistic money wellness coach and how did you come to be one?
Yeah, I came up with this title because like you mentioned in the introduction, I have seen over the years how much money is really related to our health. As somebody else mentioned, the body-mind connection, the body-mind-heart connection. I look at the body, mind, and money connection, and because it impacts our health. So how did I get here? Well, I used to be a physiotherapist, and even then I could see how stress was impacting people's bodies and how it was stopping us from getting better, or it was stopping my patients from getting better. And so years later, when I switched over to financial services, I could still see that stress. So initially I thought, well, I'll just teach about money so that people understand it better. And, you know, and that did help. It made it less scary and less intimidating. There was still something missing. So I remember very clearly still, after having volunteered for a single moms group to talk about finances, I walked out of there and I realized that there was no amount of money in the world that could be thrown at this room full of women to help fix what was the energy I was feeling. That it wasn't about money, it was about something else. So I went on a bit of a quest to figure out what this was, came across money coaching, neuroeconomics, behavioral finance, all the scientific stuff that I love. And so both my worlds were able to come together again. And that's where I came up with money wellness, because it really is. It's not about how much money you make. It's about how you feel with it, whether you're at ease with money. It's like we often think, oh, the six-figure income or the $1 million or something, but I have clients who have the six-figure income and who have the $1 million, and they still don't have money wellness. So, you know, it's the human side of money. So I hope that answers your question.
Totally, it does. And I always love hearing how people come to what they do today. It's like starting off as a physio. Who knew when you were being a physio that you were going to end up to be a holistic money coach, right? We take many journeys as we go through life, many of us. So Mariska, can you give us some examples of why it's important to address one's beliefs, emotions, and mindset before you go into the numbers with clients?
Yeah, it's well, I'll give a really, what I think is a really clear example. I was teaching a workshop one time in North Vancouver, and at some point this lady put up her hand and said, you know, I make really great income every month and I really want to save money, but at the end of the month there's just nothing left over. So, which, you know, I run into a lot as a financial advisor. Anyways, we had a conversation, and at one point I asked her, I said, how would it feel if you knew that you had an account with, let's say, $100,000 sitting there? How would that feel? And what really surprised me is how quickly she answered. Instantly, she said, oh my gosh, that couldn't happen because my family would disown me. They hate rich people. So if you have, it's just an example, but if you have that mindset of my family hates rich people, or if you were raised to hate rich people, then you're going to stop yourself from getting there because your mindset and your bank account are out of alignment, and one of the two needs to change, right? So another example I have is, well, actually not one example, it's all the female entrepreneurs that I work with. I mean, so often as women, we come from a place of overgiving and undercharging, and we shy away from money. And often it comes from a place of not feeling good enough, not feeling worthy. I need to have more education in order to charge more, or whatever limiting belief goes through our mind. So if that's the belief that runs our business, or if that's the belief that drives our actions that run our business, then we're going to keep putting the brakes on. We're going to, even if we do get successful, like one of my clients, her income has gone up a lot over the time that I've known her. But her overhead has just kept right up, and her net profit each month is still the same as it was before. She just hires another person then, or gives money to her kids, or it's not that she totally wastes her money, but there's always a reason then to give money away or to do things with it. So we still stay at that same level. So by addressing the mindset and the beliefs first, we can see what we're going to bump into and what triggers there are, and then work with that before we go into the numbers. And then afterwards, it just becomes this dance. We go from numbers to beliefs and then back to the numbers, and yeah, it gets really fun and creative. So
I can tell you've got a lot of passion around what you do, Mariska. That's great. A couple of people have put stuff in the chat here. Deborah Rubin put, my message is we're on an austerity program. We had just moved to Vancouver. My dad was starting a new medical practice. Interesting. My sisters didn't hear that message. Yes, interesting how in the same family, you can get a different message related to money, largely depending on your position in the family, right? And the situation when you were at a certain age, right? And then Juliana as well said, that's me. She totally related to that. Anybody else want to put something, or just put yes in the chat box if you can relate to some of the things that Mariska just shared? Anybody?
Yeah. And I think if I'll just jump in, what Deborah was saying, how the sisters didn't hear that, it already points to how we learn most of what we believe around money when we're little, actually before the age of 15, the same as with the money types that we'll talk about. And, you know, it's often we've experienced something, and in that moment, we make a decision about us and what if we're worthy, if we matter, or things like that. And that could be this different for your siblings. Even if you're twins, you're not going to have the same experience the whole time. So
Yeah, money doesn't grow on trees. Oh yeah, I remember my
Yeah.
parents speaking that one.
yeah,
My husband has a belief that he didn't want to be rich chasing the buck, and it rubbed off. There you go. We are influenced by people around. We're always told to save, 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 and I rebelled and wanted to have more fun today than save for a rainy day. Well, good for you, Yvonne. So I think it's great to hear what people have to say. Okay, then on to the next question here. We understand that money stress has a lot of negative impacts on our bodies and our minds. And can you share what some of those impacts are, Mariska?
yeah, absolutely. So I'll again, I love science, and I love this part, but it really, to put it in a very condensed way, when we have a stress response, our body produces a lot of cortisol. It does a lot of other things too, but we'll just, like I said, simplify it. So with that cortisol response, our body reacts and goes into a bit of fight or flight, our blood pressure goes up, and a lot of other things happen. But normally, so say that happens when you're just almost getting into an accident or something, that cortisol goes up, and then over time, say a couple of hours later, it'll go back down to the base level. But when it comes to money, I mean, money is part of almost every part of our lives. So we bump into this, if we have stress around money, or if we don't have a good relationship with money, then we get triggered many, many, many times a day. So we get that stress response all the time. So we run into chronic cortisol overload. And some of those symptoms from there are that we start overworking, we don't sleep so well, we over caretake, we become hypervigilant, which is when your brain constantly scans the environment to see where the next danger is coming from, or when the next shoe is going to drop. We gain weight around our abdomen. We have difficulty relaxing and sleeping. I don't know, maybe some of you recognize some of those stress responses. But what happens also is that another hormone called serotonin actually drops then. And serotonin is the hormone that makes us feel good. Like we feel good in our body, all is well in the world, we sleep well, we just are at ease and at peace. But when that goes down, we don't feel so good, and we could even get depressed. So what we do then subconsciously is often then, you know, call this hormone called dopamine to the rescue. And dopamine gives us a really quick fix, as it gives us a quick high, and then we feel better temporarily. Now, how do we get that? Ever heard of retail therapy? That's one of the reasons they call it that. There's also, you know, gambling, drugs, alcohol, eating that can give us dopamine, but we'll stick with the shopping. So we go shopping, we buy ourselves something. Now we feel better. If we buy it on sale, it's our brain lights up like a Christmas tree because there's even more dopamine released. And that's great, but it doesn't last very long. So by the time we get home, and definitely by the time our credit card bill comes in, we don't feel so great. So what can happen then is we get into what we call a dopamine hijack, where we just keep having to buy things to feel better. And So we can have a great budget and we can have a great app to track our spending, but none of that will withstand the power of dopamine. It just goes out the window when that dopamine kicks in. So, I mean, don't get me wrong, shopping's great, and I'm not saying don't shop, but if it's dopamine fueled, then it's usually followed by a regret later on once dopamine wears off, because it doesn't fill us up. It's not just a quick fix. We didn't need another pair of shoes. We needed to feel better. So we're trying to fix the wrong thing. So that's just one of the ways where we see how this money stress constantly triggers that cortisol and then has this whole ripple effect through the rest of our body, and we just feel crappy. And I'm on this mission to make sure that we learn about this and we understand this and have that insight so that we can counteract it. Is that?
Yeah, no, that's really helpful. I think it's really helpful for people to understand the impact of the different stress hormones on our bodies, and also the dopamine and how it raises us. And I think many of us can totally relate to many things that you're saying. There's a bunch of comments. I'm not going to read them all in the chat here, but certainly there's a lot of stuff related to what people experienced as kids and different scenarios, being from immigrant families, heated discussions around money. So you picked up the energy, the negativity around it, right? And so yeah, I think everybody totally relates to what you're saying, but I think now we have more insight into how the money stress actually impacts on the body. So thank you for that, Mariska. So I know that you have a number of tools that you use, particularly you have this quiz that you use to coach people. So I think it'd be really helpful if you took us through and shared with us some of those tools, and also as you go along, engage with us. That'd be great.
Yeah. So because we learn all these beliefs around money in our childhood, it gets nicely buried in our subconscious because we don't deal with money when we're kids usually. So it doesn't show up until later. So I'm finding that money types are a really great introduction to talking this language or looking at this human side of money. And these money types were created by Deborah Price from the Money Coaching Institute in California. I've studied with her. So yeah, I'll take you through, let me just see. I'll take you through, and I saw that quite a few of you did the quiz, and some of you have already done a consult, so fantastic. And if you did do the quiz, then have your results handy. If you didn't have a look at the quiz, don't worry, you can always do it later. But it's just picking words that resonate with you from a whole bunch of words. Now, can I?
Yes, you can share your screen.
My screen.
You can.
Okay. Here we go. That's the one to share. This time I did the wrong one. Okay. Let me I gotta move some things around. Too many things open.
Okay.
So let me get all of you back. So basically, as you can see on the screen already, there are 8 different money types. And I'll take you through each of them. Might go a little bit quickly, but it is recorded, so you can always go back and take in all the information on the screen. So the first money type is the innocent. So the innocent, and those of you who scored higher on innocent can throw in the chat what you recognize, if anything. Oh, and if you didn't score high on it, think also about the people around you. Somebody mentioned their husband and their family. Think of where you think they would fit in. But so the innocent typically has a bit of an ostrich approach to money. They're like, oh, I want to know about this. They don't know how much money's coming in typically, or how much debt they have. As I would see them as with boxes of envelopes that weren't opened from the bank and their statements. They feel quite powerless when it comes to money, and easily overwhelmed and anxious. Those are really the main things as innocent. They would much prefer somebody else to look after the money. So I hear this a lot. So Lorraine, that's like you. So I hear this a lot as advisor. People go, "Oh, well, I trust you. You decide which funds to invest in. I don't know anything about that." And it's great that they trust me, but you need to know where your money is. You need to understand this. So that's then where that relationship comes in again. So it's not money, so that you see that money is neutral. Money isn't this scary thing, but the innocent does have a lot of fear. So one of the things to do, and then I'll look at some comments more. One of the things the innocent can do is just learn more about money. Just start to read the statements, and just, you know, it's not that scary. It's not gonna attack you. And to find out where that fear is coming from. What are you really, really scared of? Or deep down, what is there? What's that fear all about? And I see in the comments that so epic divorce left mom in poverty. Yeah. And also, it can happen when, let's say you were raised with, let's just say, a dad who was very much in warrior or even tyrant mode, and you'll find out later what that is, but very strong and very, or you were told, "Oh, you're a girl, just, you know, go get married and your husband will take care of it." I actually have some clients who were told that, so they weren't raised with financial awareness or financial information. They weren't taught. Oh, never trust a man, and never, that's okay, Susan, that's that's good, as long as you don't get too independent and want to do it all by yourself, then, because, you know, it's good to work with people too. But does that make sense, or any question? Just keep popping things in the chat, if you recognize it, or if you have questions about it. But so the things to do for innocent can be learning more, finding out where that fear comes from, and just taking a deep breath and trusting yourself more and working your financial muscle. I find too, for the parents in here, it's important to let your kids make money decisions, because if we do everything for them and then suddenly they're going to university and we're like, "Okay, you're on your own now," we're not prepping them for life. Okay, let me see. Ethical mission to passion to, yeah, exactly. Don't ask for anything. Independence, but asking for help. Asking for help is unfamiliar. Yeah, I get that too. So you start to see, you know, how these things can show up, right? But let's go to the next one, because you can have a little bit of each, and that's the thing. We all have all 8 of these money types in us. It's almost like they're all together in a car or a minivan, I guess. And the question is, who's driving? Who's making the decisions? And it's not who you are. It's only where you are in this moment. You can switch from one to the other in different situations, or different things come up. I remember one time I was like, I was doing this work, I was in warrior mode, and then I got to the library checking out my book, and I saw that I had a $2 fine, and it totally threw me in victim mode. It's just this tiny little thing, and it caught me off guard, and I just started to panic. It was $2, it's not a big deal, but somehow it triggered something old. Okay, yeah, Deborah can relate to ostrich. It can take care of itself, yeah. But it's again that relationship. If money was a person and you kept telling that person, like, "Well, I don't want to have anything to do with you," then will it continue to show up, right? Just a question. So let's go to the victim. So the main characteristics of the victim, and as you'll understand, we have, I'm only sort of going into the surface layer of it, but the victim, typical thing of the victim is they always blame somebody else. It's not my fault that I don't have any money, or that I whatever. It's the economy, it's my ex, it's the city, it's the whatever, it's my boss. It's always somebody else's fault. And by blaming, then you can't actually take any power. You can't change anything, because we can only change ourselves. We can't change anybody else. So there's quite a bit of anger there as well. And they always look back, or they go, oh, well, I've tried that and it didn't work, so I'm not going to try that again. So they're constantly taking their own power away. They're constantly giving their own power away, and they feel quite powerless. They seek rescue, and at the same time, they don't quite want to be rescued. A lot of times victims have been through a lot, but they haven't necessarily healed on the emotional side. So they're still carrying that with them. That can also turn into becoming financially quite irresponsible, because at one point they're like, well, it's not going to work anyway, so I might as well just go spend all this money that I do have. And then they get mad again about it. So it's the anger and the blame and the not taking responsibility are sort of the main topics here. So does anybody recognize that a little bit? I know when I first took the quiz, I scored really high as a financial advisor, and I had been for 15 years already. I scored really high on innocent. There was still a personal part of me that just wanted somebody to swoop in and just take care of it all. And victim and martyr. So, and also there's no shame in any of it. Like by looking at this, that's where we can learn, right? And that's where we can change it as well. Bartered and trade. Yeah, let me think about that. And Anessa, and let me once we get to the creator artist, we'll get to that. Okay, so the victim needs to heal their emotional wounds, like deal on the emotional side, deal with things. So counseling or something would be good there. And also, I don't know if you've heard of the Ho'oponopono. It's the Hawaiian forgiveness prayer. That's a really, really good one to that I get my clients to do quite often, because it's just a broad forgiveness. But most of the time, we just need to forgive ourselves, because we're so hard on ourselves. Okay, moving on. Let me see if we're ready to move on. Yeah, Twyla, you use it for many, many things. Yeah, I actually heard somebody told me once that if you record yourself saying for those who don't know, the Ho'oponopono is 4 sentences. Please forgive me. I'm sorry. I always forget the middle one. Please forgive me. I'm sorry. And I love you. So it's 4 sentences that you keep repeating. And if you record yourself, maybe you can help me out there, Twyla. What's the other sentence? If you record yourself and then fall asleep while you're listening to it, apparently that really, really helps out here. I'll type it in here.
Thank you. Is the other one.
Thank you. It's funny how I forget that one at this time, but it's late here. So just go Google Ho'oponopono, and there's tons of stuff on Facebook or on YouTube to help with that. Now, one of the money types that we do want behind the wheel is the warrior. So the warrior is exactly, if you ask a 5-year-old, show me a warrior, they'll go, well, so they're decisive, they're goal-oriented, they're willing to take risks, they're competitive, they're disciplined, they'll take care of people. and they'll work for the greater good, and you'll see why I say that later. And they're very confident, so they're masters of the outer world when it comes to money. They know what to do. So often, if you catch yourself, and that's what this whole thing is about, by learning about these different money types, you can catch yourself, you can hear yourself say something, and you're like, wait a minute, that totally sounded like the victim. Stop, and what would the warrior do is one of the questions you can ask yourself. If I was in warrior mode, what would I do then? So the warrior is all about, how can I get this done? The victim would be, oh, I can't get this done. And the innocent would be, what? What needs to get done? But the warrior is like, how are we going to do this? There has to be a solution. Now, if the warrior gets a little bit out of balance, they can get too independent. That's why I was saying, Susan, that you also need to work with people. If you get too independent, and I know this too as a single mom, I've had to, and with the belief that I've always had to do things by myself, not accepting help is not great either, because we want to allow other people to help us out as well, money wise, but also just with anything really. So the warrior needs to watch that they don't get too independent and just do everything on their own, and also that they don't fight everybody, that they don't, you know how we always say, choose your battles. That's the saying for the warrior. Sometimes if they get too much into fighting mode and then they'll argue with everything. They'll go against everything. And that's not good either, because you'll wear yourself out. Now, I know from the quiz results that I did see that I have quite a few warriors in here. So how does that resonate? Do you recognize that? Do you, how does that show up for you? Do you want to just throw it in the chat? No, not you, Deborah. Did you take the quiz, Deborah, or not? Oh, okay, well, take it. You never know. There might be some in there. But I mean, you're running a business, right? And so there's always something, but we're often also so hard on ourselves that we don't, that we don't see, which what we'll get to next. My warrior was the same score as the victim. Where did it go? Yvonne. Yeah, they can switch places quite easily. Yeah, but the thing is too, when we grow up, again, we learn a lot of these, how our particular money type percentage shows up, is all comes from childhood, and we learn that from our parents. Somebody mentioned parents fighting and arguing, but let's say our parents have two very different active money types. We don't take in a happy medium. We take on characteristics from both, and then we go back and forth. So maybe one of your parents was a victim and the other was a warrior, and you've taken on, characteristics from both, and then go back and forth, again causing a lot of money stress, because you're causing a lot of stress by going between the two. Okay, discerning between warrior tyrants. Yeah, you also need to be able to receive, and the warrior is also good at receiving. But if they don't, and that's again where that doing everything yourself and rescuing too much, then will get you into martyr mode. So the martyr has a lot of warrior energy, so they can be financially quite successful if we define success with making money, having money. But the martyr will not receive. They will look after everything and everybody else, but not themselves. They're the ones that say, oh no, I don't need any help, I'm fine, even though they're hanging on by the skin of their teeth. They're also, like I said, I used to be high martyr too, and what I recognize in there is I was always very giving. Like if there were events or things, I would always bring the food and but what I realized, if I'm really honest, what I was doing is bringing this food because I wanted to be accepted. And that's really what the martyr wants. They want to be acknowledged, they want to be accepted, but they don't think they're worthy of it. So then they do other things to help everybody else. But because they're not really asking for that acceptance, or they're being kind of, they're beating around the bush about it, they're not necessarily getting that acknowledgement that they want. So that's where it gets a little bit hard. They're often the caretaker, and they usually were the caretaker also at home when they were younger. So it's just carried on. Harbor resentment, and they're perfectionists, and they're passive aggressive a bit. They're giving, but they're expecting something back, but they're not asking for it. It's just that passive aggressive. Do we have anybody recognizing that a little bit? Or well, the warrior prone to burnout, no, if the warrior works with the magician, it can be fine. 3 warrior burnouts under my belt, then is more likely to be a martyr burnout, I would say. Okay, 5-minute warning. Okay, we better go. Then there is the fool. Also a lot of warrior energy, loves to take risks, thinks money is totally fun. And they hear about something great and they go, oh, they don't do the research. They live for each day, and they're quite impulsive, financially irresponsible, and they just love money for the game, and they don't pay attention to the money. Because it's not about the money, it's about the game. It's about the dopamine. That's a high dopamine money type. Now I'll go through. Deborah, Pamela, can you confirm recovering fool? What time do we have till? How many minutes do I have?
Well, you can take a little bit more than till 5:25, but not too much more than that. It was originally scheduled for till around roughly 5:25. So roughly 3 more minutes. If you can do it in 5, we can do that. We can give you a couple more minutes.
Okay, I'll go on through. And like I said, watch the video and we'll just go through faster. So what the fool needs to do is have a system and find out where that restlessness is coming from, because there's a lot of running forward, also dopamine fueled. So it's finding out what they're running away from, because often that's behind it. And also there's a bit of a fear for money. So see what comes out when you look at your past. Then we have the creator artists. So they're the most conflicted of all the money types. They see money over here and what they love over here, and never the two shall meet. Like if they do, then you're selling out, you know, you're not authentic anymore, and they want to be authentic. They're seekers of the truth, and they don't want stuff. And that's where the trading comes in too. Like there's nothing wrong with money. Money is neutral. But the creator artist sees it as something bad because of how they were raised. The great thing about the creator artist is the creativity. So if we can have the creator artist on the passenger seat, awesome, because it can help the warrior come up with some really fun creative solutions. Next, we have the tyrant. So the tyrant, again, tons of warrior energy. It is the hardest working of all the money types, but they're using money to buy things, experiences, people, And they're not doing it like the warrior does to help people for the greater good. They're doing it to help themselves. They want to make as much money as possible to keep themselves safe. There's that never enoughness. Now, often if you did score higher on tyrant, often we're self-tyrants where we keep pushing ourselves. It's never enough. We can never stop because we have to push more. We have to learn more. We have to do more. So the tyrant really needs to learn to love themselves, do volunteer work and things like that. And then lastly, I can still, if I can finish this, Deborah or Pamela, the magician is really the ultimate place to be. So they're the master of the inner world. So the magician really looks at money as a fantastic way to be able to transform the world. And they know that if you do the right things for the right reasons, money will flow. Money flows in, money flows out, and it's all good. There's no rush, there's no dopamine, there's no doubt. It's just this really deep sense of trusting and this power that comes with that, and this seeing that spiritual connection to money, because money is energy. And I'm sorry, I'm seeing some of the comments, but we'll talk about that in the breakout groups. They're very compassionate and really, like I said, they see money. Their motto is to use money, manifest and use money to participate in the flow of creation and transformation of the world. That's why I do what I do, because I feel we can transform the world if we, especially as women, change our relationship to money. So with that, phew, hopefully that got you thinking a little bit. Like I said, watch the video again to see all the words and stuff, and do the quiz if you haven't taken it. But I'll let you take it over from here, Deborah. Oops, I'll stop sharing.
Thanks so much, Mariska. That was fascinating. We could spend another hour or so on this, I'm sure. And I love that final money musician motto, right? Manifest and use money to. I can't even read my own writing here. Can you repeat what that was again?
To manifest and use money to participate in the flow of creation and transformation of the world. And I just saw a comment about scoring really high on magician, if I can just finish that thought then, but still not having a great, if you score high on magician and you don't have a great relationship with money, the magician can be behind the wheel, but you've got some really loud backseat drivers that are distracting you. So then the work is to just get those kids in the back to quiet down and to listen what they need so that the magician can focus. So I'll leave it at that.
Fascinating. And I loved how you deal with them all. It's a juggling act. Fun. So thanks so much, Mariska. Now what we're going to do is going into breakouts, and Michelle is going to help set them up for us. And listen along, everybody. You're going to have ideally three people in a group. You have 3 minutes a person to share. And I would ask that the person with the longest hair be the timekeeper, and the person with the shortest hair start their sharing. And the questions you have to share, think about and share are: 1, what are several new things you've learned today about your relationship to money? And Michelle is kindly putting everything in the chat here. And how would you like your relationship to money to be in the coming year? So and then when you come back, we're going to give you a minute or so to come in and out, but then 3 minutes a person. So please keep to your time. And then we'll have a few shares when we come back to the whole group. So have fun in your groups. And at the very outset too, you can spend a very short amount of brief time introducing yourself, who you are, what you do, and then get into your responses to the 2 questions. Everybody good?
Hello. I'm just,
Hello, we've got 4 of us in here, eh?
I know. Well, oh, okay. Yeah, because I think there's some that need to join.
Oh, no, there's just us. Oh, and Twyla has to leave, she just said. So anyway. hopefully-
Okay. I'm just looking at, I feel like I should move. I'm gonna move Evelyn to room 4.
Okay.
Hopefully, yeah, there. Okay. I think we're all balanced. Everyone has 3. Whew.
Awesome. Good for you. Good for you.
Oh my goodness.
Amen. Do you want to start then, Michelle? Or actually, it doesn't matter. You're supposed to, the one with the longest hair is supposed to be the timekeeper, but I can be the timekeeper. It's not a big deal. So do you want to start or do you want me to start in terms of the questions?
Why don't you start? You
Okay.
get to go first this time.
Okay, thank you. What are several new things I've learned today about my relationship to money? Well, I learned certainly about the different money types and how to deal with them. And I did my quiz a couple of weeks ago, and I forgot to bring my piece of paper, so I was having to do it from top of mind. So I can't remember exactly, but the ones that I did clue into make a lot of sense. So I feel like yeah, the new thing is not only the 8 money types and what you can do in relation to them, but also what sort of reflecting on people around you and being able to better understand them, whether it's a partner or a family member or what, like, right? It also helps you understand more, not only yourself, but also others in terms of how they relate to money. And yeah, I think so. And how would I like my relationship to money to be in the coming year? I would like it totally to be, I'd like to be totally a magician and money flowing to me. And when I look at my businesses, as you know, I've had about 4 since the early 90s. My first consulting business, I was totally in flow. I didn't market. I would facilitate something. And if people knew me and they took my card and they liked my style, they were going to do a major visioning, strat planning, whatever, they'd call me. I'm also a qualitative researcher. And so if they had a national study to do, they'd call me. And it was just awesome. I didn't have to go out. I didn't have to market myself. Everything just flowed. And I made great money. Like I made 6 figures really fast in that consulting business. And then when I went into coaching, totally different story. You're working so hard, like hitting your head against the wall. And then putting it out to the universe and saying, you know what? I'd really like to work with groups, and all of a sudden, and I'd like to play big. And then I think I've shared that story before. And I said that, and then within 2 weeks, I got this email offering me one of 3 positions in Afghanistan to throw my hat into the ring to, right? And so again, consulting and making really good money as well, right? In a high risk zone, but yeah. So I also think it's interesting to reflect at different times in your life. And why, when you do certain businesses, because I've done different businesses, why were certain ones, did they flow so easily and other ones not? And was it because so another thing that it's made me reflect on is, so was I totally in alignment then when I started those businesses, with what I was doing? Do you know what I'm saying? So it's also the money, but it's also being in line with your passion or purpose at that time. And we change over time, but it was quite dramatic how things changed in my life. And so, yeah, that's kind of curious. Anyway, your turn.
Yeah, no, I completely resonate with that sentiment in terms of an alignment of passion and purpose. And when you're not aligned and you're just doing it because you're kind of just, you have an idea and you're pushing, and you're not flowing, right?
Totally.
Yeah, it's so powerful. So yeah, so I've been working with Mariska for since November, so a couple of months. And really it's so invaluable to, she's helped me really shift my mindset and therefore shift my relationship with money. And I can feel it in my body.
Wow.
And you know, and since then I've gotten a client that's very lucrative. And I'm starting to, I have to set up the payroll system for my tech startup, but then eventually I will actually have a salary. I'm gonna have benefits, and like, you know, things are coming together. And I was definitely coming from yeah, a place of a mindset of scarcity and just fragmentation. I was just all over the map. So yeah. So when I think about how I want my relationship in the coming year, it's like well, I mean, you know my story, so it's like I feel like from 2018 on, I have been ripping apart and renovating all aspects of my life. And so and understanding my relationships and healthy relationships with you know, with kids, family, partners, whatever, as well as having a healthy relationship with money. And just yeah. So yeah, so that's the goal. But that's why I engaged with Mariska, was that I wanted to develop a healthy, just like I want a healthy relationship with my kids, I want a healthy relationship with money. And so and I didn't have that. So I'm learning how to do that. Yeah.
Well, good for you, Michelle. It takes a lot of courage to do what you're doing and what you've done, right?
Mm.
It totally does, right? Because a lot of people fear change, right? And they'd rather stay in the same place and be unhappy than take the leap and do all these things to learn more about themselves and improve their relationship. So good on you. That's huge, you know, it really is. And I'm curious to have my discovery call with Mariska. I haven't set it up yet, but I'm curious to do that. So yeah.
Yeah, it's really interesting because there was a piece of me that was like the celebrity, which is how I relate to my kids, and I want to provide the very best and etc. Because I grew up from scarcity. And then there is the martyr piece, which I manage my own needs, wants, where it's like you know, my daughter saw, we went on a trip together, and at the airport, I bought some perfume, some expensive perfume, and her being, you know, like an 18-year-old kid, it had to be profound, because she actually made the observation of, I am so glad to see that you are finally spending money and treating yourself.
Aw,
And
how sweet is that?
yeah, and so I thought, oh, that's interesting that you know, a human that is going through a very self-absorbed phase is noticing that. That's interesting how profound that must be, as far as, you know, how I've shown up as a parent yeah, for all of her life. So yeah, so interesting.
It is. It's really interesting. Yeah, you know, our psyches and why we do what we do are so powerful, right? And these old messages that we get based on, you know, a lot of times our parenting and our life experiences as well, right? You know, it's not about blaming people. I mean, everybody is who they are, right?
Yeah.
But this bit about money doesn't grow on trees. And oh, I somehow got this. Wealthy people are selfish. Like, what?
Oh.
Oh yeah, I got that.
Yeah, it was for me, it was you can't ascend, I'm paraphrasing, you can't have abundance unless you work really hard. So
Yeah.
you have to pick the hard road. And I think that's a very common mindset.
Yeah, I had that too, for sure. You have to work hard to make money. You have to work
Yeah.
hard. Yeah.
And so if you're not working hard and you make money, then you're kind of cheating the system. You're being dishonest, right?
Apparently.
You're taking shortcuts, and so you're not, you're cutting in line, so to speak.
And how I managed it for 10 and a half years with my first business to just it kept flowing.
Yeah.
Why it stopped? Well, I think it stopped because I listened to someone else and did something that someone else suggested. So it was this alignment thing. Oh, Pam, you'd be a really good coach. I think you should be coaching. And then, my mind thinking, well, when I semi-retire, whenever that's going to be, that was years ago, right? Look at me still, right? Kind of a big funny joke, right? But I think, there's so much about this passion, purpose, and alignment that's related to the money. Yeah, totally it is.
Yeah.
Yeah. Fascinating. It's really fascinating,
Fascinating.
So are they automatically going to come back in 26 seconds here? Or do you
I think so. I can also close all the rooms and just make everyone come back. I think we're actually in pretty good shape.
Yeah, what do we got? We got 5:41. Yeah. Okay. I think that would be a good idea.
Do you want me just to close all the rooms?
Yeah, I would say, because we were supposed to have 5 minutes to share, but if we share for 5 minutes, that's going to be a bit over so share for 4 minutes.
Okay.
So,
Oh, darn it.
okay.
Oh, hold on. I missed it. How do I? It says, oh, now it's like all
closing
different
in
rooms.
46 seconds. Here we go.
Yeah. In a minute. I'm going to.
So I'll hand it to you now.
Okay, fantastic. We'll
So we
just
got
wait.
5 back. Everybody else is sitting in the room, so they don't want to leave. Having too much fun.
I know. Yeah, this has been really cool. Okay. Oh, now everyone is coming back.
There we go.
Fabulous. Okay, I think everyone is back. So, so first of all, wow, what a fantastic session. I know for me, I love the nerdiness, the science behind it, and I also love the energy holistic piece. And I am a huge fan of money. It doesn't buy you happiness, but it buys you options, and I like options. So, so I hope you guys have enjoyed this so far. We have a few minutes where we can share. So does anyone want to put up their hand and just share, the things that you've learned today, or how you want to see your relationship with money? Deborah, do you want to go?
Yeah, Patrice and I were quite blessed to be in a room with Mariska. And the question she asked, which is so simple yet profound, is, if money was a person, how am I treating it? And what all that means. So that's all. I thought that was really fabulous.
Yeah, it's a profound way of thinking about it. And thinking about your relationship. I don't know if many, there's attachment theory, right? So are you an avoidant? Do you have anxious attachment? Oh, yeah. No, I love it. I love it. Anyone else want to share? I'm looking through. I don't have, Evelyn.
I really enjoyed my group, and I have to apologize. I was in group 1 to begin, and then I got bumped out into group 4. So I didn't leave. I didn't abandon you. I just got moved around. But I have a question for Mariska about the money magician. When things were going really well for me, I was in that magician mode, and because I'm a little bit of an innocent, and is the magician also have characteristics of an innocent? Because my brain does not do numbers well. It's not my natural way of thinking. So when I stopped trying to focus on the numbers and worked on the flow of the money and the energy and that trusting that I was a much happier person. Things worked well for me. And so I just want a little bit of clarification around those two money types.
Yeah, then a good question. And yes, they do have some overlap. For example, one of them is they're both very trusting. So if you choose the word trusting, you'll score in innocent and in magician. But the trusting that the innocent does is more, oh, I trust you, it's like an outside pushing away. Whereas the magician has this deep sense of trusting themselves and trusting the process and being really grounded. But if there's loud backbeat driver, then the groundedness, then the magician can also become a little bit floaty and disconnected, and that might then look like the ostrich approach, where it's like, oh, it's all well, but I don't really know my numbers. So I would say, if maybe that's the way to put it, if the magician becomes ungrounded, then it can float into innocent a little bit.
Okay, thanks for that clarification. I appreciate that.
Yeah, no problem.
Yeah, thanks for that, Evelyn. And I just want to let you know, I was the one who bumped you because there was two people in one room and I just wanted to balance things out. So sorry for the disruption. Great. Well, I'm just looking at our time, and I just want to make sure that we're all that we keep time correctly. So if anyone wants to learn more about you and your work, Mariska, what's the best way to contact you?
I would say through my website, do the money type quiz, and then you'll automatically get an email with a link, and you can book a free money type consult, and then we can have a chat and see what's going on for you. You now know the money types, but then we can also talk about how that shows up for you in particular and what you can do to shift. So I think that would be the best way to go. Yeah, I don't have a newsletter yet, although it does ask you if you want the newsletter, but I am coming up with an online program soon, so that's why I'm in Spain building it and not getting distracted.
Yeah. And so actually, full disclosure, so Mariska has been working with me since November, I think. And it's been an amazing experience. I've definitely wanted to have a healthier relationship with money. I wanted to not just love it from afar, but I wanted to actually have a really good relationship with it. And so she's really helped me shift my mindset. And abundance is flowing. So that's helpful too. So thank you.
Thank you.
So I'm gonna pass it over to Lorraine.
Yes. So at this point, I'm going to ask Michelle to drop the survey into the chat. We have a short survey for you to complete, and it will help us to know better what it is you're looking for, how some of these sessions are going for you. So it asks for your feedback, And because we really want to get it completed, we're going to ask you to click on the survey in the chat right now. And I'm going to give you 2 minutes to complete your survey. So ready, set, go. All right, time is up. Thank you. You can continue to complete it, but we're going to move forward with the agenda. Thank you very much for filling that out. And we will move on to the next piece of our agenda.
Can you see the slides?
Yeah, we can.
Okay, great. Amazing. Well, this is the time we get to talk about membership because this piece really just continues to support the good work that we get to do here and support us bringing you these amazing gatherings once a month. So just by a show of hands, like who already is a member of Female Wave of Change Canada? Awesome. Yeah, amazing. So great. It's such a strong group of women and lots of diversity in the crowd too. So let's see. All right. Okay, so this is who we are. I mean, this type of meeting really demonstrates the kind of community, the loving, caring, compassionate community that we have, and one that is really steeped in supporting leaders to create change. So our core values are authentic feminine leadership, partnership and collaboration, gender equality, embracing diversity, interconnectedness, and sustainability. And when I was reading these this morning, I thought it's so important that we dive into these values together because there's a deconditioning process that needs to happen for us to actually step into those values because our world has not really taught us how to do all of these things. And so I love that this community comes together to support us to really enhance these characteristics that are beautiful leadership qualities that our world needs right now. We are also really unique in that we have these 5 pillars that we work on. And right now we have one project under the environment category, and we are wanting to build out these other projects as well, project areas. So we need your input and support and collaboration to do that, so that we can make a more diversified change in the world. But the one project that we have going on right now is quite special. And yeah, if there's time at the end, maybe we can share more about that. Some of the benefits that you get from being a member are, sorry, my notes keep going away. That yes, these types of events where we get to connect with people from all around Canada and even overseas, which is fantastic. You do have an opportunity to come here and showcase your expertise, just like Mariska did tonight. You can contribute to the 5 pillars and then participate in things like the Wisdom Circle, which Anessa spoke about briefly earlier. I shared already about collaboration and doing this work together, and we get to experience that by actually working together. There are also leadership development opportunities. There's a program going on right now, Female Wave of Change Global, that has quite successful impacts. There's stages to speak on, and there's special benefits in terms of pricing that you can receive as well by being a member. We also have a private LinkedIn community. We have 2. We've got a generic one and then a private one to really grow our relationships, continue the conversation that we started here. We've got events. We hosted a brunch last year and hope to have more events like that, and we'll share one coming up. And then we have an annual celebration, which is also really cool. So for those of you who are members already, this link is important. If you haven't joined our LinkedIn group already, please head over there and do so. And Michelle will put that in the chat. And then just to end here, I'll say that the other cool thing about Female Wave of Change is that we have different levels of membership, and they're priced differently, and they can comprise different things. So the supporters and individual membership is $100 a year. That's less than $10 a month, and you get to support this organization that is really trying to make a difference in the world, plus all the benefits that I just mentioned. Now, Pam, I apologize. I took out all the notes and then I just lost my notes. So the champion and the sisterhood, can you explain what those memberships are off the top of your head? I apologize.
The champion is for 3 years. So you basically contribute for 3 years. And I believe I need to pull it up to because I am a concept. That's my story. I'm a concept, not a numbers person. Not a good thing to be talking about at this meeting, is it? Just let me, I'm just going to, because I just want to make sure I gave us the right numbers. Okay, here we go. Because I'm pretty sure I know, but I just want to make sure. Okay, the supporter is the $100 member a year, which Amy Leah spoke about. The champion is for 3 years, and then you get a discount. So you pay $250, which supports us with moving projects forward, largely like the Mother Earth Ambassador Project. And so that's, as I say, the champion is you pay for 3 years up front and you get a $50 discount. And the sisterhood is very special because that's when one woman pays for 2 years for herself and 2 years for another woman who maybe doesn't have the financial stability at the time to contribute, but she really would like to be a member. So yeah, so that's $350. Normally would be $400. So $100 for the supporter for 1 year, the champion, as I say, 3 years with a 50% discount or $50 discount, and the sisterhood, which is 2 years for 2 members for $350.
Perfect. Thank you. And there's the link for you to go and read all of that yourselves. This is for the next event, but I think before we get here, we're going to introduce Catherine. I know we're at time, Pam, so give me some guidance in terms of how you want to.
Okay. Let's stop sharing for a moment here. And Yes, just I would say invite Catherine to just share a little bit, just give a little bit of context and then share that. Just, we're going to keep you probably for maybe till 5 after. Hopefully that's okay. We normally don't do this, but we have something really special to share.
Yeah, so this is a new initiative that has just been birthed in the last couple of weeks, and it started with an idea. We wanted to bring you together again in some way, and we did a brunch before, and this time we thought, well, let's gather together around the new moon and do some special intention setting as a collective. And then in conversation with Catherine, who is, if you don't know her, she is a leadership coach, she's a transformational facilitator, and the Kundalini yoga teacher. And she offers gatherings like this that are so special. So in conversation with her, this offering has really blossomed. And I'll pass it over to you, Catherine, to share a little bit more about the intention and what this is all about.
Sure. Thank you, Emilia and Pamela. I'm so excited for this possibility that we're really co-creating together. It's really emerging between and among us for moon circles, hosting new moon and full moon gatherings over the next 90 days. And why we wanted to bring it to you today is because Mariska has invited us into such an important possibility for transformation and creation of our society and ourselves through the intention of transforming our relationship with money. And so the possibility here is bringing that intention, the conversation you've just had in your breakout groups, and bringing that intention for the shift and you want to make in your relationship with money, and or the relationship with your body, the relationship with love, enhancing and embodying more self-love, connecting with your wise woman. And for me, connecting with the seasonal cycles and the moon cycles for the past couple of years has been a deep resource for creating more balance, more wholeness, coming into right alignment with my intuition and my well-being. I've really been in a journey from burnout to thriving, and connecting with the natural rhythms of the earth and the cycles of the moon has been a really big part of that. And so I'm excited to share that with you in practice. And so our invitation for you is to join us in the next upcoming moon cycle that begins February 20th is the next new moon. And we will meet every new moon and full moon from 4:30 to 5:30 p.m. PST until May 5th. So it's like a 90-day change cycle. So for those of you who are into change and planning and creating harmony, which I am right now, and visual, it's a really powerful time because we can really harness the energy of spring as well, which is a great time to build and nourish and grow our gardens. So I invite you into this journey to join us. I'll put my email in the chat here. My website, I'm still building the registration page, but you can get a sense of more, and email me if you'd like to learn more or have a conversation about it or register.
Thanks so much, Catherine. I just wanted to say that we have been thinking about this as a board for over a year of partnering with one of our members to do a retreat. And so, or a retreat or some sort of offering. So this is the first one we're stepping into. We're doing a revenue split as well as part of it, as well as really doing a lot of partnership related to it. So we're really excited. And for me, I've done some moon cycle work, and I also participated in Catherine's, one of her sessions for solstice before Christmas, and it was lovely. She has a very special way of doing it that makes you feel very comfortable and aligned, and I'm excited actually about this, and I hope a number of you are too, and that you'll join us in this new moon circles.
Is it in person or online?
It's a good question. It's online, Jan. It's online. Here we go. So there we go. Anybody else have a question, or I don't want to keep you too long? Okay, thanks so much. Okay, then, before I move into the thank yous, I just wanted to say our guest next month is Yvonne Silver, who's with us tonight, and she is a speaker, an executive coach, and an author as well. And she's going to speak about words, women, and wisdom, the modern art of confident conversations. So we look forward to seeing hopefully many of you on February 15th next month. I'll actually be in Mexico, so I won't be here. So Lorraine's going to be leading the charge here. And I'd like to thank so much Mariska for joining us tonight in the middle of the night, your time, and for sharing your expertise and your wisdom and your stories related to money. Thank you very much, Mariska. And
You're
also,
so welcome.
and also thank you all for participating and playing with us, because without you, it's about building community, and it's really important that we all engage and share and learn from one another. So until next time, enjoy life, and here's to reshaping the future and creating a better world for us all together.
And you have an awesome time in Mexico.
Thank
Stay
you,
safe, Pamela. There.
Thank
That
you.
lotion.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Save the chat, ladies. Save the chat.
Oh, go.
Thank you.
Good.
Thanks for the
I got it.
reminder.
Thank you.
Don't forget to howl at the moon, Pamela.
Okay, I'll remember to do that. If I howl at the moon, what will that do for me, Susan?
Grow
We'll
hair.
We will all
Don't
hear
do
you.
that.
Yeah, we'll hear you.
Thanks. Oh, sugar.
Thanks a lot. It was wonderful gathering with you. Hope to be involved next session.